check out our streaming schedule for this week. We've got tons of content in terms of the NFL and college football, as we're going live just about every single day this week. So make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single moment where we go live. And now, on with our feature presentation. October 27, 2024. It's week 8 of the NFL season, and we head to Northwest Stadium for this NFC battle between the Chicago Bears and the Washington Commanders, in a game that I think everyone is shocked means a ton. At the start of the season, all this game looked like was a battle between the number 1 pick and the number 2 pick. But now, this is the biggest game of the week, and gets the Nance Romo treatment. For the main team in our story, the Bears, they enter this one at 4-2, and to get this win would be big for a few reasons. The biggest one, though, is that the NFC North is insanely competitive, as every single team entering this week had at least 4 wins. The NFC North is looking like one of the best divisions in NFL history at this very moment. Win this game, and you get to keep pace with everyone. Lose this game, and not only are you going to be behind the 8 ball, but with a tough schedule coming up, with 6 of the final 8 games being against said NFC North opponents, you could be in serious trouble. So you definitely don't want to lose this game and stop what is currently a 3-game winning streak. And speaking of things that you definitely don't want to do, you definitely don't want to miss out on all the content that we put out on this channel, because we post every single day about the weird and the wacky history of the NFL. So if you like that sort of stuff, then be sure to hit that like button down below, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss a single video that we post on here. Thanks in advance for your support as we try and hit 70,000 subscribers. The bad news thus far is that Chicago's offense hasn't been able to get a whole lot going, as they trail 9-0 at the half and 12-0 at one point in the third. However, with 6:25 left in the contest, the Bears only found themselves down 12-7, and they faced 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line in obvious 4-down territory. Get into the end zone, and you take the lead for the first time today. The Bears line up in the I formation, and that's interesting. Is that an offensive lineman at fullback? Alright, I mean, to be fair, we've seen plenty of teams do that to get an extra blocker and give him a running start to clear the way. That's not too unusual. As long as they don't do something stupid here like, have him actually try to run it in instead of giving it to a running back, then I suppose this is okay.
Roshan Johnson, they like to go to short yardage. Instead, look what they do.
Oh, the ball's out, Jim.
Ball is out.
Welcome to Dumb Decisions. Before I break down what happened here, this whole series is about taking an in-depth look at decisions made during games that were clearly awful from the start. This isn't something look bad in hindsight. Rather, this is something look awful almost immediately. These are moves where your gut instinct tells you right away that there is no way this can possibly work. And sure enough, your gut instinct was smarter than that of an NFL head coach. And for this one, we're going to take a look at the mind of Chicago Bears head coach Matt Eberflus. The Bears are being held back entirely by their head coach right now. From an in-game management standpoint, Eberflus is so bad, and in one of the most competitive divisions of all time, of the 4 head coaches to be a part of that thing, he is a distant 4th. Eberflus has been maligned for a variety of reasons for his tenure thus far as Chicago's head coach. And you can learn more about one of those incidents earlier this season on Sunday Night Football against the Houston Texans, where he completely mismanaged the clock by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But perhaps he has been flamed more for any one particular play or any one moment than this game right here. Seeing as I think we all saw the problem with something like this right away. So with that being said, let's take a look at why calling a run to your offensive lineman in a 1-score game down by the goal line is a really bad idea. I mean, when you put it like that, it sounds ridiculous, especially considering the fact that this wasn't a trick play so much as it was just swapping the personnel in. It's like if I, a random person with no business being on an NFL field, line up at fullback during an NFL game. It's not a trick play. It's a bit unexpected for me to be out there and get the carry, but it's not a trick play designed to fool the defense. And there's a few different ways you can go with this one, because to say there's a lot to dissect about that 3rd down play would be putting it lightly. But I guess we'll start here with, your actual running game. The guys that actually know how to carry the football. There's something to be said about not messing up a winning formula, and how if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, so far, the Bears have been running the ball relatively well with their actual running back, the man that they signed in free agency, DeAndre Swift. Prior to the play in question, Swift had gotten the ball 16 times and had run for 127 yards. Do the math on that, and Swift had averaged a whopping 7.9 yards per carry. Your actual running back had been gashing the Commanders all day long, including with a touchdown run earlier in the game, as in Chicago's only touchdown of the day up until that point. And it's not as though your goal line offense on the season had been bad, seeing as you've had quite a few rushing touchdowns from the 1-yard line this year, whether it was DeAndre Swift or Rashawn Johnson. But instead of going with what was working, and instead of giving the ball to a qualified running back who was doing well, you decided to give the ball to a freaking offensive lineman, as in a man who is not known for carrying the football and who will never be known for carrying the football. It's like if cost isn't an issue whatsoever, you need to get an electrician to fix a wiring problem in your house, and you decide to call me instead, as if I'm qualified at all. Now, obviously, there have been times in NFL history where a lineman gets handed the football and plays a vital part in the offense. Bears fans know that all too well, seeing as during the 1980s, especially during that 1985 Super Bowl season of theirs, William the Fridge Perry got handed the ball down by the goal line a ton. We have seen big men do crazy good things before, and as stupid as it is, I guess we have seen this play work. However, there were a few key differences with this time versus some other times like 1985, besides the obvious that this play turned out to be a complete and utter disaster. Number one, like I said before, you had a running game that was good down by the goal line, and a running game that had been doing a good job all day long. It's not like your guys were getting stuff, and you were trying to throw stuff at the wall to see what stuck. You had something that stuck, both on the season and on the day. Number two, this was a high-leverage situation. If this was something like the Lions-Cowboys game earlier this year, where the Lions were up by a gazillion points, and Ben Johnson was in his bag trying to get his offensive lineman to score in a game that was well and over with, alright, different story. When this was done with the Fridge, every time he got the ball, it was either in the first half, or in the case of Super Bowl 20, it was a 37-3 game where you had a better chance of learning how to fly than the Patriots had at putting up 34 more points against this defense in one half. But this was the fourth quarter of a one-score game. Why on earth would you try a play like this, which isn't a trick play, mind you, designed to fool the defense, in the fourth quarter of a one-score game? Instead of giving the ball to someone who actually knows how to run with the football, you give it to a guy who is an offensive lineman? Because number three, the man who got the football here was Doug Kramer. Want to know how many carries he had in the NFL prior to this play? You guessed it, 0. A big, fat 0. But, okay, maybe he was a runner in college to some extent. Miles Jack never had a carry in the NFL as a defender, but he ran the ball a fair amount at UCLA. So maybe this was a situation like that, where the man had at least some experience. Nope, 0 carries in college when playing for Illinois. And I went as far back as his high school days and looked at whatever shoddy websites tracked high school stats, and what do you know? While playing for Hinsdale, he had a grand total of, you guessed it, 0 carries. This means that in all likelihood, the man had never carried a football in a tackle game in his life. And in the absolute best case scenario, the last time he carried a football was in middle school in 2012. And instead of giving it to men who actually had success in this situation, both during this game and during their entire careers, you give it to a man who's never done it before, not even because you're trying to catch the defense off guard like a wide receiver pass or an offensive lineman eligible touchdown, but because you think that gives you the best chance at punching it in? Give me a freaking break. Naturally, after the game, someone asked Eberflus just what the heck this play call was, because it puzzled everyone. And amazingly enough, Eberflus defended the play call and tried to justify giving the ball to a freaking offensive lineman down by the goal line who has never carried the ball in a real game situation before. Said Eberflus, this man he'd been watching this whole time, it's a play we've worked. We worked that play since Kramer's been in there. We worked it, worked the mechanics of the handoff to him, and we just have to do it better. You're on the 1-yard line, and you got a big guy getting the football. We've practiced it a lot. Alright, there's a few things to break down with this. First off, just because you practice it, doesn't mean you should actually do it. practice and a game situation are two different things. In practice, especially during the week, guys aren't trying to tackle each other. You're not going to see the entire team try and gang pile the offensive lineman or get off the snap the same way. It's like if I practice shooting half-court shots. During a game situation, it's totally different because there's going to be someone on me and I'm going to have way less stamina. Also, just because I practice half-court shots doesn't mean I'm just going to jack up half-court shots at random times during the game. Number two, if you want to give it to a big guy down by the goal line, there's something that you might not know about that you need to be aware of. And that's called, oh yeah, a freaking fullback! Want to give it to a big man who actually knows how to run with the football? There's literally a position for that. We invented that a long time ago. And number three, thus far on the season, the Bears had the ball at the 1 yard line and gave it to Swift or Johnson 7 times. Want to know how many times that play resulted in a touchdown? 6. 6 out of 7 times, or 86% of the time, you're scoring on that play if you just do what literally any sane coach does in that spot and give it to your number 1 or your number 2 running back. And you're going to throw those odds away for this? For a lineman run? Give me a freaking break, Eberflus. Give me a freaking break. Now, as for what happened in the game between these two teams behind me right here, I don't know if this play is going to be remembered a whole lot just because this game will be remembered throughout NFL history for one other play of note that you might have seen already. You know, the ending of the game when Jaden Daniels threw up the Hail Mary to Noah Brown. That was a pretty nice play, and because of that, the Commanders ended up winning. This play might just be an afterthought in the grand scheme of things. Having said that, though, this game truly exemplified why Matt Eberflus is not a good head coach and has no business running this team. From the lack of discipline on the team, as you saw with Stevenson celebrating the Hail Mary before he even threw the ball and while the play was happening, to this awful decision, to the awful 4th and 1 play call behind the line of scrimmage earlier in the game, this was just a coaching disaster class by Matt Eberflus. A coaching disaster class. And I don't know if Eberflus is the right guy for the job, but I know this much. He's going to have to get things sorted out for the second half of the season, because if he doesn't, Chicago, you're going to be missing the playoffs again. So what do we learn from all of this? I honestly didn't think I'd have to be saying something like this, because it just seems like common sense. But if you're down by the goal line, it's probably not a good idea to give the ball to an offensive lineman who has no experience running with the football. If you have 2 options to fix your home, and one option is a reliable handyman, and the other option is some rando off the street, pick the reliable handyman. And likewise, if you have 2 options to punch it in by the goal line, and one option is a reliable running back who has scored in these situations before and have been playing great football, and the other option is an offensive lineman, especially seeing as the offensive lineman would now no longer be able to do what he's good at, which is block, then pick the running back. Practice situations and game situations are 2 very different things, and one doesn't necessarily do a great job at simulating the other. And if you seriously thought that this play was a good idea, if you seriously thought with the brain cells you had left that this was a good play, then you either need to reevaluate how you call a football game, or you need to find another line of work. Because when all these elements are in play, you can't exactly be surprised when this play backfires. Talk about a dumb decision. Be sure to like and subscribe if you have not done so already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And check out my other channels, JG8 for the history of college football, JG7 for the history of baseball, and JG9 News, where we talk about all things happening in the NFL. Join me every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, where we'll play live NFL trivia for cash prizes. And make sure to join me live, as we're on stream just about every single day. And thanks to all our Patreon members and our YouTube members for helping out the channel. See how you become a member and show your support financially in the description down below.